It's a pleasure to be your keynote speaker today. I was delighted to be asked to talk about data and particularly to focus on what this means to us, a big industrial company. What I'm going to talk about is what we see and what we perceive as really the next industrial revolution. I'm just trying to see, there's a monitor just there so I can keep track. Good. What we see as really the next industrial revolution. Software and analytics are fundamentally changing our entire business model. It's changing what the products are and what we think about and how we think about solving problems. There's a transformation that's occurring in the world today, something similar to what happened with the consumer internet back in the 1990s. In the 1990s, there were 1 billion consumer people connected by the internet. Now, think about what's going to happen when we have 50 billion machines connected online. There will be more machines connected than there are people connected to the internet today. It's going to change the business model. It's going to change the way every industry operates. It's going to change the way every industrial product and service is delivered and managed. So we're in the same place today in the industrial world as we were in the consumer world in the 90s. And we, the industrial businesses, need to capitalize on the opportunity by understanding how the physical and the digital worlds are coming together. The future of the industrial world is going to go beyond merely the physical and the analytical. Data and analysis allows us to create brilliant industries. But what is really going to also help us transform this is disruptive innovation. We are going to see the emergence of disruptive innovation, and we have to embrace it if we're going to progress. We have the same opportunity in the industrial world as the consumer world had in the 90s. So we're really on the cusp of an internet explosion. Those companies that do not embrace what's happening and adapt to it quickly will be those who do will be those who can compete in the market and be successful, and most importantly, those that can win. So what lies behind this? There are really 4 drivers behind this. These are the physical and analytical that I'll talk about, brilliant machines that will change the way we manufacture, industrial big data, but really importantly, the interaction of people and work, not just the people that we employ and those in our supply chain, but people right across the globe who are connected by the internet. A little bit about the company. Most of you will have heard of GE. We have been at the forefront of industrial manufacturing, productivity, engineering excellence, and innovation. It started with the light bulb. We launched the jet age in America in 1942. We brought to the world the MRI scanner in 1971. This is industrial innovation and change that will continue. But this also affects individuals and humans at every single level. We're a big industrial company. We are in the world of big equipment. We make locomotives. We make wind turbines. This year, by the end of this year, we will probably be generating half the world's electricity with machines that we have made. Like most industrial businesses, we've been focused on the mechanical aspects of engineering. In the future, software engineering and data analysis will become an increasingly important part of our company and every other industrial and heavy industry company. I forgot the locomotive. First of all, what about the analytical? So we started early. Most companies, particularly industrial companies, don't know how to do it or even where to start. We started in 2011 and decided to invest $1 billion over 4 years to build a platform, and it's already paying off in the way we operate. We have created a software headquarters in San Ramon. We have invested $300 to $400 million a year. We have already released 40 apps. Once you think about the iPhone as being a product that you use for personal data, this is an industrial tool. We've created $1.1 billion of revenue. We have 1,200 employees working on this, established in San Ramon, California, and we hold events. When we looked at this and we thought that this is an important sector to get into in 2011, we did some internal analysis to try and understand how big we were as a company in the world of software. Our estimation is that in 2011, we were the 14th biggest software company in the world, but we're not known for it. This is a huge transformation. But we have to be able to connect people. There we go. You have to be able to connect people to these intelligence machines so that they can interact with the device of their choice. maintain them, and control them easily. Industrial environments are very different from office environments or consumer environments. The way people work in the industrial world is very different. It's easy to sit in an office and interact with data on a laptop or a desktop. It's not easy when you're a locomotive repair facility manager wearing big leather gloves and you want to use an iPad to access machine data. It's difficult to build systems where people in the field can easily connect to the data from intelligent machines. Companies who figure out how to do this effectively, how to connect people to machines in these environments, will deliver tremendous value and be very successful. So let's take an example on this page, aviation. We have the data, we have the statistics, we have the physical understanding of the machine. What is this going to give us for our aviation customers? More time on wing, more reliability and availability, lower fuel cost, lower repair and overhaul. So what we have seeing is we're seeing the convergence of the physical and the analytical world in the industrial world that we're in. Let's take a look at intelligent machines. To address unplanned downtime and other operational and maintenance issues, machines have to become more intelligent. We need to put more processing in our machines, so it's going to go both ways. We need to start collecting data from machines and analyzing it so we can start to operate machines more effectively, what we call asset performance management. One of the biggest opportunities for intelligent machines is what we call zero unplanned downtime, and I'll develop on this. This improves production capacity, lowers maintenance costs, improves availability. It means downtime is always planned and predictable. This is worth $1 trillion a year to the world economy. We hear a lot about big data and the masses of information that gets generated daily by business. But not all data or big data is equal. Data created by industrial equipment such as a wind turbine or a jet engine or an MRI machine creates data volumes far in excess of consumer data. For example, Twitter creates 20 gigabytes of data a day. Data from one sensor on one wind turbine produces 80 gigabytes a day. Each blade has 20 sensors, so one wind turbine produces 4.8 terabytes of data a day. A wind farm, therefore, might produce 100 terabytes of data a day. Not only that, but industrial data holds more potential business value on a size-adjusted basis than other types of big data associated with the social web, the consumer internet, and other sources. To illustrate true, somewhat extreme examples, but useful comparisons, consider serving up the wrong display ad to somebody browsing the internet versus the impact of administering the wrong medication to a critically ill patient, or the consequences of an online shopping application crashing during checkout versus an engine failure on an airline 30,000 feet over the Pacific Ocean. In both cases, the potential value and consequence of the former dwarf those of the latter. So the tools and technologies used to process, store, analyze, and optimize industrial and internet big data require significantly higher levels of performance, reliability, flexibility, security, and analytic complexity than their consumer internet counterparts. Those companies who can achieve this and manage large volumes of data effectively will be part of this trillion-dollar industry. What we have seen in the data evolution really is a transformation from structured data used for strategic purpose. It comes in lumps, we can work on it, to operational data that we can analyze, but only really gives us a view of the past from data that is event-driven. What we really want to go for, and what we are now seeing, is data being produced in real time. The challenge is to take this unstructured data and use it effectively and productively. This is where the software analytics and the creation of algorithms, for example, will be able to provide data that delivers outcomes that we are looking for. I have mentioned the importance of connecting people with the machines. We have to connect people to machines so that they can interact with a device of their choice, maintain them, and control them easily. Let me go through a few simple, straightforward examples. Take the hospital and healthcare industry. We want to be able to ensure that a surgery unit can have real-time access to to contextual insight data to support decisions that they make in real time in a hospital environment. The surgeon and the surgeon's assistants need to have access to the data to use it. Or take a jet engine in real time on an airplane. We want the operators and the technicians to be able to have access to real-time optimized operating data, to optimize the condition of the engine in real time. Or giving people in the field up-to-the-minute troubleshooting insights into a complex operating environment, like a power station or an oil refinery. You want to know how to fix a problem when it's happening, and to fix it before it happens. You do not want to have the plant having to shut down to repair a problem. So whether we are talking about a wind farm, whether we're talking about an oil refinery, whether we're talking about a healthcare sector, in each of these scenarios, the key is to connect the people to the data, and connect the people to the data and to the machine. And then you begin to understand how the picture becomes more clear. It is the connection of the physical and the analytical, the first of the three ingredients of the industrial internet, that will bring together the physical and digital worlds that will create the industrial internet of tomorrow. So that's where we are, but where do we go? What matters next? By bringing together the physical and analytical, we will then create more effective machines. Electronic sensors have been around for some time, but their cost is declining, and thanks to advances in cloud computing, the cost of storing and processing data is rapidly declining. There is an accelerating scalability, therefore, for the industrial internet. We're entering in a world where the machines we work with are not just intelligent, but they become brilliant. They are predictive, they are reactive, they are social. Aeroplane engines, locomotives, gas turbines, medical devices are able to communicate seamlessly with each other and with us. Information will become intelligent. It reaches us automatically and instantaneously when we need it. We don't need to look for it. While many industrial assets have been endowed with sensors and software for some time, software has traditionally been physically embedded in hardware in a way that the hardware needs to change every time the software is upgraded. We're now beginning to deploy technology like embedded virtualization, multi-core processor technology, and advanced cloud-based communications throughout the industrial world. This new software-defined machine infrastructure will allow machine functionality infrastructure to virtualize in software, decoupling machine software from hardware and allowing us to automatically and remotely monitor, manage, and upgrade the industrial assets. In other words, the software of new generation industrial assets can be upgraded remotely without changing any hardware at all, much like the software in your smartphones can be instantly upgraded to enable new functionalities. Let's take a look at this in the real world. Take, for example, the oil and gas sector. Unplanned downtime causes lost production, slower deliveries, and increased workforce downtime. If an offshore oil well is out of commission, it costs $7 million a week to the operator. For a mid-sized LNG facility, unplanned downtime can result in $150 million of additional annual cost. Another example, take oil and gas pipelines. This is an example where the industrial internet is having significant impact. They are creating intelligent pipelines. Most companies don't know what's happening in their pipelines. It's a major safety issue. With sensing technology, analytics, and the ability to manage data getting cheaper, it makes it easier for us to move from a simple pipeline to an intelligent pipeline. This allows more efficient excavation activities, more accurate validation of asset data, faster condition assessment, more complex maximum allowable operating pressure data. This is data that will drive prioritization of repairs. So through sensing, for example, we can manage pipelines. We can know where the hotspots are, and we can take action when there's a problem, but before the problem occurs. If there's a section where there's a red zone, we can bring down the pressure, bring it into green, and prevent a major issue. Aviation is another example. Here we see the development of data which helps save customers up to $45 million a day by providing predictive analytics to stop delays and cancellations. The loss per cancellation or a diversion to an airline is somewhere between $25,000 and $100,000. each delay is hugely expensive. Another example is how we support customers around fuel spend and analytics using big data. A good example, AirAsia. Support with big data and analytics has supported 30 million a year savings with greater efficiency in flights and operations. But let's move into the world in which we live. Beyond machines, the industrial internet can change the environment in which we live, in cities, to help us operate where we really want to live and support each other. Where do we support? Where do we start? For example, LED lights are becoming a tool for city management. In San Diego, we're working with the city to manage two big problems that they identified. One is illegal parking, one is rubbish dumping. The camera and data system that you will see in these following slides is operated out of LED lights. But this is a system that does not require people to operate it. By providing the technology and data analytics that supports the requirements of the city, not only can they see and spot and allocate where cars are being parked illegally, but they can continue to track the data and monitor how they see the car continuing to be in violation through the following 24 hours a day. The car in these pictures was in violation for over 12 hours. This did not require the city to actually send a man out. It did not require them to have any sort of real-time monitoring. It was entirely driven by the interconnectivity of the street light, the data analytics that were fed into the system, and the requirements of the city to help them optimize their performance. The savings that this will bring to cities in the future will be absolutely enormous. Factories are progressing as well. Factories will progressively become more efficient in their manufacturing by collecting, analyzing, and applying production data. By reducing inefficiencies in factories and optimizing the supply chain, we think we can save costs of about 40%. By bringing the industrial internet's capabilities to the factory floor, manufacturers have developed novel techniques, technologies, and even materials that threaten to upend the traditional mass production model. The new, more intelligent factory will be fitted with sensors on equipment, providing managers with constant updates on performance. Equipment can send alerts when a product is defective or a part is about to fail. The defect can be traced through the entire supply chain through sensors mounted on the component from the beginning. This rich data can be mined to spot subtle inefficiencies and corresponding opportunities to improve processes and performance. One promising technology, for example, is using handheld 3D scanners that can quickly digitize physical objects into machine-readable models. This eliminates the need for constructing expensive physical prototypes that can only be handled by a few people. Digital models can be shared widely by designers and engineers, copied endlessly, and tweaked as necessary, drastically reducing the time and cost of product development and prototyping. These models can then be produced using industrial-strength 3D printing. Industrial-strength fabricators can be reprogrammed to produce one-off goods of nearly any material, whether plastic or artificial limbs or human tissue. The factory of the future will comprise digital artisans with sensors keeping things on track while printers endlessly produce one-of-a-kind products. So the brilliant factory is the convergence of advanced manufacturing and the industrial internet. We have looked at this and we have estimated that a 1% improvement in productivity to our company can give us a benefit of $500 million. This is a benefit that is absolutely worth pursuing. And by basing your data on the new platform that we have developed called Predix, this will enable the brilliant factory to connect to supply chain partners. The applications, much like the apps that you buy for your iPhones, can be developed to suit the specific needs of the plant and the supply chain. These are like apps that can be designed off a single platform, and the platform will enable the interaction of apps that will help support data and digital analysis of machines and technology from other suppliers and other manufacturers. The third element of the industrial internet is disruptive innovation. We'll also start to see an industrial app economy begin to emerge. Just as we're having smartphones and using them as platforms for a huge array of software apps, objects and machines will become platforms for apps. This is part of the Internet of Things. Machines will have sensors built into them and we'll be able to load applications onto them. So we will be able to change what the machines do from our phones. in this scenario. These applications will collect data and connect to other intelligent machines. They will be able to monitor and manage the machines, and by analyzing historic and real-time data, we'll be able to predict impending problems and preempt issues. What is the technology? The technology we have developed has a number of key characteristics. Specialized platforms, data models, analytic capabilities. It has to be highly available, it has to be highly secure, and it has to be flexible and open. This is the model of our platform that we have developed, just much like iOS and Android. This will connect people at work, it will connect machines to the network, to a server, and this will be able to tap into all of the data to operate, to provide an operating platform for our industrial customers. With the Industrial Internet Platform, machines will be software designed. Take the example of a wind turbine. This is an example of a software-defined machine. Machines that contain intelligence which you download applications to. This gives you the ability to provide hot software upgrades and enhance the capability of the machine through software updates rather than making a physical change to the device. This gives you the ability to configure hardware with different kinds of applications. The hardware stays the same, but the software applications determines how the hardware is controlled and configured. You can then have interoperable machines with standard interfaces that communicate with each other. Machines that contain real-time models of how to operate and optimize equipment to make them safer, more resilient, and more efficient. Predictability is a core benefit of these software-defined machines. With oil and gas companies, if one part of the operation goes down, it costs them $12 to $14 million a day. Using this kind of machine software, they can analyze data, know the patterns of behavior of equipment, and can tell a day and a half ahead of time if a system is going to fail, which gives them plenty of time to fix the problems. This is incredibly valuable to businesses. Data and analytics, therefore, is at the center of the industrial internet. Businesses who can master fast access to the huge amounts of data and provide rapid analysis are the ones that will thrive. In most companies, data is spread out across so many systems that nobody has easy or full access to it. Forward-thinking companies are now creating data lakes, pouring the data from all of their systems, both historic and real-time, into one place, analyzing it, providing insights for every aspect of their business. This lets them predict failures, optimize assets, and take advantage of market opportunities at the right time. Companies that master utilizing these data lakes will be the ones that can successfully compete. As more and more of these intelligent machines get connected, they become points of entry for cyber attack. When attacks happen, they can have extraordinary impact, and these kind of attacks will only increase in the future. Such attacks are much more devastating than other types of cyber attacks. If your PC has a problem, you have to run an antivirus program, it's a minor annoyance. If the software running the electricity grid is attacked and you don't have electricity, it's a major financial issue for the company and a very emotional issue for the consumer. In the early 2000s, nobody much cared about industrial cybersecurity. Now it is going to be and is an essential part of any software-controlled industry, the ability to operate those assets and operate them safely. Companies who don't have really good industrial cybersecurity are going to find themselves left behind in the market. When it comes to our approach to industrial cybersecurity, there are three things that we are focused on: updating and modernizing the security to protect legacy systems and the installed base, building new machines and systems with advanced security, bridging the old with the new and transferring security from one layer to the next. Our approach is to build our machines and software with security embedded at every level, to work with customers to identify and address potential vulnerabilities with installed systems. This is bringing our customers to a more advanced, modern place with cybersecurity, a key advantage, we think, of working with us. Our strategy uses multiple levels of security to help mitigate cyber attacks. There is, of course, no such thing as total security or a silver bullet, both in software and in the physical world. But we are taking steps to protect our ecosystem across many levels. Last year, we acquired a company called WorldTech, a company that builds solutions to protect critical infrastructure from cyber attack. And we're developing their specialized firewall that monitors and blocks malicious activity and attacks. So cybersecurity is an industry-wide issue that warrants a collective response. The industrial internet encompasses an expanding global network of companies beyond GE. They include Amazon Web Services, AT&T, Cisco, Intel, Verizon, Vodafone, and many others. New forms of connectivity create a broader ecosystem of machines, networks, data, and information that require new levels of protection. We believe every industrial operator needs to commit to staying ahead of the curve on cybersecurity through investment in people, technologies, and practices that can make their businesses and industry more secure. At every level of the industrial internet, that is software, machine, cloud, networking, and wireless services, security is a top priority for us and our partners. We are a founding member of the Industrial Internet Consortium, which includes a security working committee that will establish a security framework to be applied to every technology adopted by the IIC. The framework will ensure sufficient cybersecurity and privacy for the various users of the industrial internet. The security working group will also point to best practices and identify gaps. So we have the same opportunity with the industrial internet today as we had with the consumer internet in the 1990s. We're on the cusp of a new internet explosion, and those companies that embrace what's happening and adapt to it quickly will be those who can compete in the market and win. What about Europe and where Europe stands? The EU has 10 key priorities for 2010, and one of these is the digital single market, and I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot more of that today. Tearing down the barriers that exist between 28 member states is critical for us as citizens and barriers in the context of data transfer. One of the 3 pillars of this strategy is digital as a driver for growth. I hope I've shown today that digital is the key driver for growth in the industrial world. The announcement on June the 15th of a new approach to creating a single set of data protection rules for citizen and business is to be welcomed. This is really aimed at personal data. I would highlight one priority, the European rules on European soil. As a global company operating in 170 countries, there needs to be a focus on ensuring that data protection for citizens is complementary to the framework within which the industrial internet needs to operate. A particular focus will be in the healthcare area, for example, where by definition, data that will be needed to be used in many scenarios such as that I showed in the operating theatre will necessarily involve personal data in one form or another. So we are waking up to a new time, a new period for an industrial company. A world that constantly reinvents itself is a world in which we think we thrive. Our CEO and chairman, Jeff Immelt, often says when discussing this subject, if you went to bed last night as an industrial company, you're going to wake up this morning as a software and analytics company. This is the next industrial revolution. It is fundamentally the change in the way we design and manufacture products and what those products can do. It is making a complex supply and distribution networks that tie the global economy together faster, more flexible, and more resilient. More importantly, it is empowering us, human beings, to unleash more broad-based and distributed creativity and entrepreneurship. It is redefining the competitive landscape in multiple sectors. The industrial internet, advanced manufacturing with brilliant factories, and is then combined with a third force, what we call the global brain. We are seeing advances in robotics and artificial intelligence that extends in the tasks that machines can do to perform better than humans. But the industrial internet opens the opportunity to millions of people who have access to the internet and access to supporting industrial companies. Our access to the global store of knowledge is a huge advantage. So for industrial companies, open source platforms and crowdsourcing become part of the way we operate. And I'll give you one 30-second example. An open source competition last year to design and develop a bracket using 3D printing for a jet engine on a wing. This competition went global, open source with design drawings. The winner was a 23-year-old graduate from Indonesia. We would never have found him, he would never have found us, but we most importantly would never have had the benefit of his brain to help us solve a problem that in the future will lead us to be developing over 100,000 parts for aviation engines by the year 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was really interesting from Alistair to open this morning to say that data is at the heart of everything, and then from Mark for your address to very clearly look at that industrialization. It was interesting to talk about the kind of 4 drivers: physical and analytics, brilliance machines, big data, and people at work. So we have about just under 10 minutes for questions to Mark. We do have people coming around with microphones, and if you have a question to ask, please do state your name and your company, just to give our speakers a little bit of context. Please make it a question, not a statement, not your opinion. We can leave those to the breaks. And also keep them as punchy as possible, so we might have room for 2 or 3. So can I just open up to the floor? There's a gentleman at the back there. Just the microphone's just coming to you.
So it's Biggie Chinak from Gang of 4 Productions. Excuse me, obviously GE is a massive employer and completely agree with the industrial revolution aspect. How do you see that affecting employment? And the second part to that is, are we actually, via the education system, going to deliver the kind of employees of the future as you see it?
Well, a very good question. There is obviously a tension between the issue of whether the increasing use of intelligence and machines is going to change the requirements of labour, but I don't think it is going to change. You're never going to be out of the requirement to do physical things. You have to still take an engine to pieces to repair it. You still have to build a subsea tree. This work will continue. I think what we are already seeing, and I see this when I go around to a number of our facilities, is we see people in real time using the data that they have access to today as part of the day job. You saw the picture of the greasy hand and the iPad. That's a real picture. The key driver of change that governments need to embrace is the changes in the education system. I have kids in their 20s, and I'm amazed at some of the things that they can do technologically with the consumer, with their iPhones and their iPads and everything else, and how they can design and optimize and use what's available. I think we need to ensure that every generation that comes into education, and that the education policy and system has a clear focus on enabling young people to be able to adapt to this hugely quick changing environment in which data and analytics will drive so much of what we do, not just in the consumer world, but as I'm saying, in the industrial world. So education focus is absolutely key. But I think it's also a means of unleashing potential that sometimes people didn't think they had. It's easy to assume, in the old 1970s blue-collar world, that all a man who repairs a jet engine can do is operate a wrench. These men many of the men we have in our plants in the UK are my age, late 50s. They are unbelievably adept at adapting and using the available tools that are provided. We're all capable of learning. So I think this is actually also going to create plenty of new opportunities for people who will be able to apply not only their physical skills and their experience to a new way of working that will come about.
Thank you very much. Other questions from the floor at all? Thank you very much, sir. Can you just wait till the microphone gets to you and ask your name and company?
Okay, Robert Boyle, International Airlines Group. We have some of your engines. We have some of your competitors' engines. One of the hallmarks of the internet and digital revolution is around open data and interoperability. What's GE's approach to the open standards and so forth? So are we going to be able to interrogate and get access to the data coming from your engines the same as from a Rolls-Royce engine? How's your view on what's that going to do to your business?
I think the reason why we have developed Predix as a platform is to enable customers to interoperate all of the data that they get from multiple sources. So this is about enabling you, in your particular example, or another airline who's going to have our and Rolls-Royce engines, to actually integrate and mesh the data and develop apps that are particularly suitable for how you operate your business. Whether it means that we will agree how you protect that data in an operating environment from your competitor is something that is going to have to be, is obviously an issue that has to be regulated and has to be managed. And the standards and operating procedures that will be embedded will ensure that that happens. But at the end of the day, our approach is to ensure that the data that is coming from the engines and the analytics and software algorithms that are designed to help optimize performance are there to help you as the customer optimize the way you're operating. And it has to be on the basis that you have to use our platform as a means of integrating all of the data you get, not just the data you get from your engines, the data you get from your flight schedules, the data you get from your operations. That will all come together on a single platform. And the concept is to make it interoperable. So this platform will be offered on that basis.
Thank you very much. Answered your question. We've probably got time for just one more from the floor at all. Will we have Mark with us today? Going to give the audience a chance first. Mark, I was very interested to hear. We were looking at, GE started early and built a platform. That's absolutely very clear. And one of the things that I wanted to ask was about what's critical to people to enable useful big data, really. And you clearly said, well, it's to connect the people to the data. And you gave us one example of that in terms of the surveillance and not putting a man in the street and being able to use that. Is there any more examples you might be able to share with us that will ground to that for people here today in terms of connecting people to the data, what you mean about that?
Well, I think the people in this context are the people who have a particular purpose that they wish to achieve. You are operating a city, you are running a bus company, you are, you're operating an airline. The issue is to ensure that those people in those roles can have access to the data with the development of the analytics that gives them the outcomes they want. The example of San Diego I found interesting because when we first started talking to them, we offered them, sort of a smorgasbord of, we can do all these different things. And it was like giving a starving person a menu. They didn't know where to start. So it was, okay, just tell us what problems you want to address. What are things that you need to address? What do you want data about that you're going to help solve? And they said, well, our two biggest problems are people dumping rubbish in the middle of the night on sidewalks, out of the backs of their cars, and people illegally parking. So connect them to the data that they need that's going to help them solve their problem. And I think that, whether you're in industrial applications, whether you're in the situation where you're trying to manage a city or an operation or a business, you have to give the people who've got a day-to-day responsibility for optimizing operations or just running the service access to the data that means something to them, and they've got to have a means of using that to help them improve the service they provide to their customers or the service we provide to our customers. For IAG, for example, their customers, their airline, their key people for them are their airline customers. We want to make sure that it's their airline customers who are being best served by the access of the data to them as the customer.
That's very clear and very helpful. So looking at it from a business outcome perspective and then putting people in charge of making that navigable so that they can utilize that. That's really, really helpful. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for Mark Elborne. Thank you so much for that.